Okay, good morning. We are doing Yoreh, Deah, Basar B'chalav, Siman Tzadi Hey. Dagim ubeitza shenitbashlu b'kedera shel basar im muter la'ochlam im gevina. All right, we'll read it in Sif Aleph. This is the famous case of not barnat, using the same dishes for meat and milk, obviously separate times, Pareve food. Okay, that's this is the main siman, which we started, the topic. Okay, Sif Aleph. Dagim shenitbashlu, O shenitzlu b'kedera shel basar. Okay, so either way, it doesn't matter, cooked, roasted, whatever it is. You have a pareve food, such as fish, and you put that into your pot, and you're cooking it. It's a meat pot. There's no meat in there. Here, let me read the next word. Rechutza yafeh. It was cleaned well. Doesn't mean you need to use steel wool, but you just need to scrub it with a sponge, hot water, soap, whatever. Just has to be clean, however you get there. She'ein shum shuman davukba. Right? There's no meat, no fat from the meat that's still attached, that's still stuck onto the pot. Okay, so it's completely clean. We're going to see it. We're talking about, I believe, but it's still ben yomo. You used it a couple hours ago for meat stew, whatever. And now you're going to cook fish into it. Mutter. La'ochlam bekutach. It's mutter now to take this fish, para food, or water, fish, whatever it is, you just warmed it up into this pot. It's a fleshik pot, but there was nothing in there, it was clean. And now the food in there is still parav. So you can take out this fish, take out this food, and you can eat it with a dip that has milk in it. Okay, it's kutach is a milchik dip, mamish milchik. Why? Why is this mutter? Mishum dahave notein ta'am bar notein ta'am dehetera. Because it's a not barnat. It gives flavor. Originally, you had meat stew. It's all within 24 hours even, a ben yomo. You have meat stew. That meat put a flavor, was notein ta'am, into the kli, into the pot. Now the pot was notein ta'am, right? Secondary. It then imparts ta'am from the pot into the fish, right? So now the fish is everything is mutter. There's no treif, there's no isser, there's no treifus. It's all kosher meat. Now that ta'am went into the fish, so it's not barnat dehetera. It's still considered kosher. Okay, so now any case of not barnat dehetera, now you're allowed to put milk, butter, cheese, whatever you want, and eat it together. Okay. This is all still in the Shulchan Aruch. We're going to get to the more halacha l'maisa soon. So let's keep going. Okay. Now this is assuming it was completely clean. But if it wasn't completely clean, you had a little piece of fat or meat stuck to the pot, it wasn't cleaned out well, so then it depends. It could still be fine. So it depends. If there was enough meat in there that was more than 160, so then it'll make the fish right? It'll make the fish fleshik, and then you can't have it with milchiks. We're not talking about sakana here. The sugya is just meat and milk. Now he's even, right.
Is that bottle of shishim of whatever is on the side of the kedera, is that of meat? No, we discussed last week, it's got to be the meat element as a colour. Or is it just of the volume of what's there, negative the whole clear?
Well, you're not looking at the volume of the pot, you're looking at the volume of the piece of meat. I'm not sure if I understood your question.
No, we discussed about bottle of shishim.
Right.
But it's only the element of the meat element of what was left there, or what was cooked in there.
Well, you took an empty pot with a little piece of meat, and now you're going to add fish or whatever you're making, water, fish, anything part of. So you need to have 60 times the fish.
Yeah, no,
okay, so I don't understand the question.
The thing on the side.
What thing on the side?
What if the thing on the side is?
Oh, okay. Okay. So the food in the pot, that you can have some food in the pot that's stuck from an hour ago. Part of it's meat and part of it's pareve. So you only have to be shishim keneged the meat.
Okay, so it's the same thing.
Because there's no chanan until it becomes iser. Yeah, okay. Yeah, no difference. Okay, so that's, let me see something here. Okay, the Aruch just points out that normally a kli that's lying around is, we assume there's some fat on there. So you need to check. If you didn't check, it needs to be about, it has to be shishim kenegdo. If you're not sure how much was in there and you're not sure how much, if you really don't know what you're doing, so then just don't mix it with the milk. That's for a normal kli that's lying around that might be dirty with meat. We already learned that nowadays, I believe kimat all the poskim, or most, will agree, it depends on your household, a caveat there, but most of us in our home, in our cabinets, in our drawers, dishes and pots and cutlery, we assume is clean. So the assumption is different than the assumption of the Shach and the Shulchan Aruch. Nowadays we usually assume it's clean, but again, it depends on your house. However, and then anything that's cooked, that got freshly cooked, and then you poured it out, the Shach also points out, he writes, so I'm not, this is the words of the Shach. It just says normally if it's cooked and you pour it out, we assume it all dissolved in the liquid. It's really only an issue if it's more roasted. I mean, it depends. It can be, higher up on the pot, from where the liquid was. But anyways, I'm just quoting the Shach. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm just quoting it. So I'm just quoting the Shach. But make sure it's clean. I think that's what I would recommend. Make sure it's clean to not worry about shishim, or just check it and make sure it's shishim. Okay. Fine. And just rinsing it off, we assume it's still not clean. You have to scrub it at least with some kind of a sponge, hot water, soap, something. You have to make sure it's off. Just rinsing it with water, once it sticks onto it, just rinsing with water is not going to take care of it. Okay? Now let me see something. Okay, so what's the halacha l'maisa according to the Shulchan Aruch? So I'll say like this: the Ramah is going to have a more strict opinion. So the psak halacha for the Ashkenazim, we're going to wait a minute. For Sfardim, there's two opinions over here within the Shulchan Aruch. Now, the Shulchan Aruch, the way it's written, again, he's quoting his halacha from maybe it's the Mishnah, I forget. He's quoting the halacha, and the case is dagim she nitabashlu. It's fish that was cooked. Okay, so everybody agrees according to the Shulchan Aruch. If you have fish cooked in you have fish cooked in a meat pot within 24 hours, no problem. You can eat it now with butter or milk. No problem whatsoever. That's the halacha according to the Shulchan Aruch. Once it's cooked in that pot, now you can go ahead and add milk. However, the debate among the poskim is according to the Shulchan Aruch. Let's say you have a piece of raw fish and you want to cook it and you want to eat it with milk. Can you lechatchila cook it in a fleishik pot, knowing that for sure the plan is to eat it with milchiks afterwards? So that's a machloket. Interesting enough, the Shulchan Aruch himself, the Beis Yosef himself writes that it's mutter to do it even lechatchila. You're going to have milchiks with the fish. You're allowed to cook it in a fleishik pot within 24 hours and then have it with milchiks. And he doubles down in the Bedek Habayit. He says it again. And that's the psak of Rav Yosef in Yabia Omer. It's also brought down in the Tashbetz, Beit David, and others. However, many, including the Shach, Taz, Ben Ishchai, Zevchetzerek, Kafachayim, Pri Chadash, learn in the Shulchan Aruch that it's only b'diavad. Once it's cooked, then now you can mix it with milk. But if you know you're going to have it with milk, you shouldn't lechatchila take a meat pot that was used within 24 hours. So it's a machloket among the Sephardic poskim l'maisa how to follow the Shulchan Aruch and Seif Aleph. Okay, let's.
The Maccabi doesn't make a distinction between Ben Yomo and Ben Yomo.
It's for sure a ben yomo, and it's not a problem. So kol shekain eno ben yomo is not a problem.
Ben Yomo, there's still machlokas. Is the machlokas?
No. So we're going to see eno ben yomo. Even Ashkenazim are mekel. So let's read Seif Bet, and then we'll eventually find the Ramah. Beitza shenitbashla b'mayim b'kedera cholevet. So similar case, but now we have a milchik pot. You're going to take an egg, boil an egg in a milchik pot, and it was used. It's always, we're assuming, within 24 hours when the question comes up, and it's still mutter. The egg has a din of parav. You take, right, it was a milchik pot within 24 hours, and it's parav food, it's an egg. Mutter l'teitota betoch hatarnagolet afilu lechatchila. Again, it's already cooked, so that's the debate. Can you even cook it on this das? Anyway, lechatchila, you're now allowed to take this egg, put it inside your chicken, and cook it together. But if you cooked the egg in a pot with meat, not just a fleshik pot, but actual meat, then the egg itself becomes fleshik. Even if the egg had its shell on it, doesn't help. It's permeable, it's got little tiny holes, the flavor of the basar goes right through, and it's aser le'ochla bekutach. And this egg, right, if you put eggs in your cholent or whatever you're cooking, then you're not allowed to eat it with milk. Right? Midin. Even with the shell. Okay.
In the first case, the egg is in water. There's an additional medium there. Does that make a difference?
No difference. We saw that with the eggs. No difference if it's fried, cooked, or roasted. We saw that. Yeah, we just saw that. Dagim shenitzla. It's the exact same thing. Haga, v'yesh machmirin betzliya bishul. Again, and then so now the Ramah is going to have a more strict opinion, which goes on both Seif Aleph and Bet. Goes on both. Yesh machmirin betzliya bishul. Le'esor notein tam bar notein tam. Even though it's not barnat dehetera, the Ramah, and this is the psak for all the Ashkenazim, is that it's usher to use it lechatchila. In other words, you cook your eggs in a fleshik pot, and now you realize, oh, wait a sec, I want to have it with milchiks. So if it was done, we're going to see, within 24 hours, according to the Ramah, you're not allowed to mix it with milk. You can have it a minute later. You don't have to wait 6 hours, because it's not milchik, but you can't mix it and pour it on together. Period. However, we're going to see, but let's keep reading. That's lechatchila. Ve'aminag le'asor lechatchila. And the minag is you can't mix them lechatchila. Right? The fish was in a fleshik pot. You cannot now mix it together lechatchila with cheese or milk. Ubedi'evid muter b'chol inyan. But he does agree with, at the end of the day, mik ubedi'evid, the Shulchan Aruch is 100% correct, that if it gets mixed, once it's already done, and now the fish, you put butter on it, milk on it, you're allowed to eat it, you don't have to throw it out. Okay. Let me... Yeah, no, we basically said everything out loud. The Shach just repeats that. Interesting, Rabbi Kiva, he just says maybe storing it into a pot. I don't know, this is so nogeya. Storing into a pot for 24 hours could have a din to make it an issue. But unless you do it, unless you immediately take out the meat and put in the other thing, it's never shayach, because it won't reach 24 hours by the time it's no longer not barnat. Eno ben yomo. So whatever, just if you caught that, just sort of interesting. Okay, so let's keep reading the Ramah. V'davka le'echol im chalav v'habasar atzma. Right, so that's what we said. It's only aser lechatchila to mix this fish with cheese and milk. together in this, when you put it, when they're touching, and you eat them together. But if you're going to eat them a minute apart, a second apart, you finished, you swallowed, whatever, then it's mutter. Aval litnam bekli shelehem mutter lechatchila v'chen nagu. Now, but there's absolutely no problem to take the fish that you cooked in a meat pot and put it on a milchik plate and eat it with a milchik silverware, utensils, whatever. That's not a problem at all. It's only actual milk, and then obviously vice versa, as we saw in Aleph and Bet. Okay, let's keep going. Okay. Even if it's hot, he holds that's okay, and he won't. The Taz points out he's machmer for not bernat when it's touching food, but not bernat the tera when it comes to dishes. Okay. V'chein im lo nitbashlu or nitzlu tchila rak alu b'kli shel basar mutter la'ochlam im chalav atzma. Right. Once a piece of bread touches a meat plate, and it's all cold, and for sure there's no issues going on, you can have it with milchiks. V'chein lehefech, and so to the opposite. V'chein, perhaps even if it's a klisheni. Let's keep reading. Depending on the case. V'chein, im haya klish nitbashlu or nitzlu bo lifgam, shelo haya ben yomo, noagim heter lechatchila leochlan im min hasheni. So this is what we said before, that the only issue when the Ramah and anyone is machmer is if we're talking about a kli that's a ben yomo. When you cooked the eggs, it was with, or the chicken, eggs or fish. It's when you did it within 24 hours to actually using that pot with cooking meat. Okay, but once 24 hours go by, then lechatchila, you're allowed to cook the fish in a fleshik pot, even knowing you're going to eat it with milchiks. And again, we're going to learn davar charif in the next siman, but he's just giving you a little warning. Everything we're learning right now is if it's not with the davar charif, this kula of eino ben yomo. Because when it's a davar charif, it turns an eino ben yomo into a ben yomo. So we'll discuss when that applies. Aval, im haya davar charif, kagon shebishu dvarim charifim bakli shel basar, you cooked radishes, chiltis, probably we would all agree, most of us would agree, you're cooking onions, all right? So all these things are a davar charif, and you cook it into a fleshik pot. Even if it's not a ben yomo, now it still takes the ta'am. Afilu eino ben yomo o shedachan tavlim b'maduk shel basar. This is all in the next siman. Or you're chopping them with a mortar that's used for meat. So here it actually imparts the flavor. So it's because it's a davar charif. So it makes it as if it's not getting the fish, the flavor from the kli. It's not bernat there. It's like if it's taking it from the meat itself. So there's only one notein tam. It's not secondary. There's no not bernat in that case, right? Because the davar charif becomes like a piece of meat because of ta'am ke'ikr. Okay, again, afilu b'diavad adi ika shishim, unless of course you had shishim times the piece of meat let's say you're taking the onion, if you're going to mix that with cheese, for example, so then you have to have 60 times the amount of cheese in that piece of onion in order for it not to make it aser. Right? Normal problems of basar b'chalab. Adik ashishim negan basar habalua behem umikol makom lo mikri ma'achal davar charif mishum me'at tavlin shabo. Just because if you have a food and you now put in some, you put in some hot pepper, so that a little bit of hot pepper is not going to. The hot pepper by itself is a davar charif, but that never turns the food into a davar charif. We're going to see this. Oh, we're going to see it right now. Let me finish reading. Lo mikri ma'achal davar charif mishum me'at tavlin shabo rak im kulahu davar charif verubo kakula. In order for a food to be called a davar charif, for the halachas where it matters for a davar charif, it must be completely or at least the majority of the food. So you'd have to have more pepper than the food that you're seasoning, which is generally not the case. Okay. Okay, let's see. Anything else we need to add? Yeah, we basically said that. Maybe we'll just do Gimel. Long. Maybe we'll try and do Gimel. Yeah? Keret shel basar shehutchu biyoreh levet bechamin shehayad soledet behen afilu shneim b'nei yoman. Now, you have one pot that's basar, a fleshik pot. And now you want to wash it in a milchik pot. You have a bigger milchik pot with a smaller fleshik pot. You want to put them all together with yad soledet bo, and they're both b'nei yoman. It's mutter according to the Shulchan Aruch. Mishum dehavele notein tam bar notein tam de'eter. It's the same principle. Who, because it just goes through the water and it's giving it into the water to the next thing, because there's no actual food there. Who, as we just said, sheyomar barili shelo shum shuman davuk ben. If you're going to do this, you got to check it carefully to make sure there's no grease and no fat or any food stuck to it. Shuman davuk ben. If there was, then you have a problem. Then you have to do what we always do. Tzarik sheyem b'mayim shishim keneged mamashit shuman. You have to make sure there's more 60 times the water to what's stuck to it. Shal panei kera, what's stuck onto the pot, which is often the case if it's just a tiny bit dirty. This is lechatchila according to the Shulchan Aruch. Now read the Ramah. Yeah, you're allowed to do it lechatchila, 100%. Haga. According to everybody, the machmer opinion is if you're going to do it lechatchila, to have it with milk. Okay. Haga. V'yesh osrin afilu ein shuman davuk behen. So the Ramah takes a stricter opinion because the Ramah generally holds lechatchila that you have not bar not by kelim. In this case, the Ramah does hold not bar not by kelim. So therefore, you can't do this. Ella im kain echad min kelim eno ben yoman, unless at least one of them is not a ben yomo. Mibliat kli rishon. Okay, from v'ah when it was used. V'ah from then. V'az kol kelim mutarim. So as long as one of them is not a ben yomo, then everything's okay. And as a churma, we say that the water is aser. Really, b'di'evet it's mutter, but water doesn't cost anything. So lechatchila we say you have to throw it out. Aval im shneim b'nei yoman v'hidichan otam biyachad b'kli rishon hakol aser. But if they're both b'nei yoman, it's just repeating what he just said was aser. If they're both b'nei yoman and you put them all together and they're all in the same water and they're all cooking together, that's aser. V'achi nohagin, and that's the minhag for Ashkenazim. Ve'en l'shanos v'davka shehutchu biyachad. Again, this is only if it's done together. Ubekli rishon, and with a kli rishon. But if one was rinsed right after another, Oba kli sheni, or everything is done on a level of a kli sheni, so then afilu biyachad hakol shari. Even if you're washing two kli shenis together, and it only got the blia of basar to a kli sheni, then it would be okay.
Right. We can do hagala in a pleasure pot.
Let me ask me afterwards. It gets let me just finish reading the Ramah, and then we'll take all the questions. Ve'im ira mikli rishon shel basar al kli chalav dino kekli rishon, because it's an iroi kli rishon kadei klipa. So pouring from one to another according to the Ramah, it's aser. Ve'oser imaya ben yomo. It's a little bit of repetition. Aval im ira mayim rotchim she'enam shel basar ve'lo shel chalav al kelim shel basar ve'chalav biyachad. If you take a Pareve hot pot of water, it's not meat, not milk in there, never was, and now you pour it on these two milk dishes together. Vafilu shuman davuk bahem hakol shari. It's all mutter, because there's no way to transfer from one to the other without becoming like a kli sheni. The ein iroi kli rishon mamish, and even iroi is not even the strength of a kli rishon. Mamish shiasa shekelim shemar elemehem, to pull yivlu zem mizet, to pull from one to another. V'imnimsa kerach olevet bein kli basar lo chayshinan Let's say your dishes are, you washed your dishes and you find the wrong spoon in the wrong drawer. So the Rama writes, Lo chayshinan shema hudchu biyachad b'derech shene esarim. You don't have to worry about it. If you saw it got bliyas of iser, then fine. But there's so many times where it's not done at the same time. It's klisheni, and that's soap we're going to get into. There's so many eterim, and we'll just mention the dishwasher next time.